What's up, good people? What's up, good people? It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder. We in the building. As you can see, we at the satellite. We got the whiteboard this morning. Y'all know when we got the whiteboard, we're doing something special. Now y'all gonna have to take this in because it is, welcome to the brand new suite. It is Work For It Wednesday. Y'all know what we do on Wednesday. We put in that work. We put in that work every day, but specifically on Wednesday, it's Work For It Wednesday. What we've been talking about this week, we've been talking about own it. You've got to own it as a owner, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a leader. As an organization, you must own it. And I've been using the backdrop of Ray Charles as a guide for talking about these 5 ownership decisions that every leader must make. You as a leader are going to be tasked to make important, relevant, crucial decisions when it comes to you as an owner, when it comes to you as an entrepreneur. So we want to make sure that you're in the right mindset to be able to do that. So I used Ray Charles, the movie Ray. If you haven't seen the movie Ray, you certainly need to watch it. It is definitely one of the best movies. And I'm looking at, when I talk about stuff, I'm usually talking about it from an entrepreneurship perspective. When I look at it from different dynamics, it was a great movie from an acting perspective. Jamie Foxx did his thing in Ray. He actually became Ray Charles. It was great to watch him and even the whole cast. It was to me one of the best biopic, I guess if you call it, movies that I'd ever seen. The music flowed, the story flowed, everything flowed about it. But we're talking about it from a business perspective, and Ray Charles, the businessman. Ray Charles, the businessman, not Ray Charles, the musician. He was a phenomenal musician, but he was an even greater, a greater businessman and an entrepreneur. So we're talking about today. Decision number 3 is own your intellectual property. You must own your intellectual property. Your intellectual property are those things that you created and that you want to have to be able to last long. Say one of Ray Charles's greatest business decisions wasn't making a hit song. Wasn't the hit song Unchain My? I could go down the list. Unchain My Heart. I'm a Ray Charles fan. Unchain My Heart. Mess Around. What's the? I forgot the young lady's name that he Maureen or something like that. I forgot that he wrote. It was negotiating the ownership of his master recordings. If you remember in the movie Ray, he's sitting down with Columbia Records and he makes the statement to them. This was when he was with Atlantic and he was thinking about moving to Columbia Records. And he said, in order for me to leave Atlanta, one of the major things that I will have to have is ownership of my masters. And for those that are not familiar, ownership of your masters, that's his intellectual property, the music. He would own that, because the way that it usually works is the artist does not own the masters. It's usually the record companies that own the masters, because they're the ones putting up all of the money. So they own it until the artist pays back all that money. So for those that are artists out here, understand when you sign on the dotted line initially, and they tell you they're going to give you a boatload of money and everything, that you got to pay that back. Even with my authors, my entrepreneurs, you got to pay that money back first. Yeah, you don't get royalties until you pay the record companies, the publishing companies back all of their money. So he had to own his masters, his recordings, before he would sign with Columbia. And what he did was he got the negotiated with Columbia. He went back to Atlantic and said, can you match it? All he wanted Atlantic to do was to match what Columbia said that they were going to give it, and they chose not to. Now, I still to this day don't understand why they did not. Well, I do understand why they did not want to match that, because they could have given him a percentage of the company to keep him in Atlantic or at Atlantic with the with his intellectual property, because Ray was a talented musician. So he owned those. He wound up going with Columbia and owning his masters. That decision that he made created wealth long after the applause ended. To this day, I'm quite sure that his royalties from that music, his catalog, still garners, whether it's, and I don't know who owns it, whether it's his family or whether it might be, since he owned his masters, somebody might have, I'm sure somebody bought it, if the family doesn't own it now, but they, have those masters to this day. Something he created some 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, he still owns it. And you've got to have that same mindset. Own your intellectual property. If you create it, own it. Don't give your don't give your intellectual property away. Don't give something that you created away that easily. I've seen a lot of artists nowadays, they've been selling their catalogs. And I don't like to see that, because that's something that you created. And I've seen, when Bob Johnson sold BET, that was his intellectual property. BET was his intellectual property. And, you don't have to have keep a business forever. You can plan on selling it if that's what you intend to do. But to me, I need to own it. I need my family to own it. That's your legacy. That's my legacy. So you got to understand that. So here's today. We're going to talk in terms of ownership. We're going to talk about these questions. We're going to talk about your ownership decision. It is going to be required to ask yourself these two questions. I want you to ask these two questions, so write them down. The first one is, what intellectual property do you own? What intellectual property do you own? What is it that you own already? Do you own a book? Do you have a book? Do you have a course? Do you have a framework? Do you have systems? Do you have processes? Do you have content? What's your intellectual property? This, and I wanted to bring this in. This is Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. If you have not read this book, this is mandatory. I'm sorry. This is a mandatory book for any entrepreneur, for any leader, any entrepreneur. This is literature gold right here. So you must own this. But even to this day, Napoleon Hill, this is his intellectual property. And here's the thing, it's not just intellectual property. These are assets. Your book, your other things that I talk about here, those are assets, not just products that you offer. And you have to have that mindset. Here's the second question. What can you create that continues producing value? What can you create today that will continue to increase or have value tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day? That's legacy. Today, your intellectual property, we're talking about legacy. That's your legacy. What intellectual property, and I'm going to take out intellectual property and say, what legacy do you own? What is it that you can pass not only down, but through to the next generation of you? And then what can you create? If you haven't created it, what can you create that continues to produce that value? And y'all hear me talk about the Rockefellers all the time. Y'all hear me talk about the Marriotts all the time. They created intellectual property right here. They owned it, but they also created something that continued producing value as the years went on, the legacy that they went on. So what are you creating of value today? I don't, whether it's a book, whether it's a course, whether it's a framework, whether it's a system, whether it's a process, whether it's content, I want you to, that's your homework for today, to see what intellectual property you already have, and then what intellectual property can you create? What asset can you create? What assets are you creating that will continue to produce value after today? 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what's your legacy what your assets going to look like when it comes to not only the marketplace, not only your industry, not only your craft, your gift that you have. What is it that you have that or that you can create or that you need to create that will put you in that level? That's how you master your craft, your industry, and your market in the marketplace at an elite level. What that will do for you, that will not only it will not only broaden your a bit create a bigger stage, but it will also broaden your and your expand your network, and it will build your ecosystem that you have. So that's what I got for you today. I want you to think about that. What are you leaving? What are you leaving? What's your legacy? What's your assets that you've created? So if you want to go into further detail, we can talk about your vision. We can talk about how we can assist you to be able to bring that vision to reality. And then we can go into greater detail about that, and we can give you the ability, assist you being able to master your craft, master your industry, and master the marketplace at an elite level. So that's what I got for you. Don't forget, hop on over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button for me, and share this. Please share this with another entrepreneur, with another entrepreneur, with another leader or organization that you believe can benefit from this information that we are pouring into you. I'm not sharing it, I'm pouring into you each and every day to make you and someone else 1% better, making you better by the end of the year than you were at the beginning of the year. It's the Impact Builder. Let's go to work. Peace.